September 19, 1931, Japan had started an invasion on Manchuria. February 24, 1933, Japan had withdrew from the League of Nations after they had asked them to stop invading Manchuria. December 13, 1937, Japan started the rape of Nanking, a massacre that had lasted for about 6 weeks. This was to show how strong their military was. September 27, 1940, Japan becomes allies with Germany and Italy. This alliance is named the Tripartite Pact or the Axis Alliance. December 7, 1941, Japan had attacked a U.S. Pacific port also known as Pearl Harbor in an attempt to take power in the Pacific. The U.S. declares war on them the next day. These were called the Pacific Wars. December 10, 1941, Japan invades the Philippines and takes Guam. December 11 to 18, 1941, Japan invades Burma, the British Borneo, Hong Kong. December 23 to 27, 1941, the U.S. withdraws from Manila. The city is declared as an open city and is bombed by the Japanese. January 2, 1942, Manila and a U.S. naval base at Captive is captured by the Japanese. January 7, 1942, Japan attacks Bataan in the Philippines. January 19, 1942, Japan takes North Borneo. February 15, 1942, British surrender at Singapore. February 22, 1942, President Franklin D. Roosevelt orders General MacArthur out of the Philippines. February 24, 1942, Enterprise attacks Japanese on Wake Island. March 8, 1942, the Dutch on Java surrender to Japanese. April 18, 1942, surprise U.S. Doolittle B-25 air raid from the Hornet against Tokyo boosts Allied morale. April 29, 1942, Japanese take central Burma. May 3, 1942, Japanese take Tulagi in the Solomon Islands. May 12, 1942, the last U.S. troops holding out in the Philippines surrender on Mindanao. May 20, 1942, Japanese complete the capture of Burma and reach India. August 21, 1942, U.S. Marines repulse first major Japanese ground attack on Guadalcanal. August 24, 1942, U.S. and Japanese carriers meet in the Battle of the Eastern Solomon resulting in a Japanese defeat. November 23, Japanese air raid on Darwin, Australia. December 20th to 24th, Japanese air raids on Calcutta, India. January 2, 1943, Allies take Buna in New Guinea. February 1, 1943, Japanese begin evacuation of Guadalcanal. March 2 to 4, 1943, U.S. victory over Japanese in the Battle of Bismarck Sea. August 25, 1943, Allies complete the occupation of New Georgia. February 1 to 7, 1944, U.S. troops capture Kwajalein and Majura atolls in the Marshall Islands. April 17, 1944, Japanese begin their last offensive in China, attacking U.S. air bases in eastern China. July 8, 1944, Japanese withdraw from Impel. March 3, 1945, U.S. and Filipino troops take Manila. May 8, 1945, Victory in Europe Day. May 20, 1945, Japanese begin withdrawal from China. July 16, 1945, first atomic bomb is successfully tested in the U.S. August 6, 1945, first atomic bomb dropped on Hiroshima from a B-29 flown by Colonel Paul Tibbets. August 8, 1945, USSR declares war on Japan then invades Manchuria. August 9, 1945, second atomic bomb is dropped on Nagasaki from a B-29 flown by Major Charles Sweeney. Emperor Hirohito and Japanese Prime Minister Suzuki then decide to seek an immediate peace with the Allies. September 4, 1945, Japanese troops on Wake Island surrender. September 9, 1945, Japanese in Korea surrender. September 13, 1945, Japanese in Burma surrender. 1951 Japan signs peace treaty with the U.S. and other nations and San Japan ending SCAP occupation of Japan.